I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for InvestmentPitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Spencer Taring, the CEO of Gamesta. Spencer, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time to come on.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Ashton.
You're very welcome. Let's dive deep into blockchain, gaming, NFTs. The metaverse world has blown up blockchain gaming, and it is revolutionizing the gaming industry. And your team is working on some initiatives that are further revolutionizing games and bringing blockchain together. I would love for you to kick it off for us with just an overview of what your team has been working on and the solutions that you're driving into the blockchain space.
Yeah, sure. So obviously I'm a big crypto and Bitcoin believer, and I think that obviously blockchain is a very profound technology that's changing the world in many ways, and it's making these big changes in all different types of industries. And obviously gaming is an incredible one for it to start to touch, and it's really revolutionizing the way that games work. Previously, when people play games, they just pay to play, then obviously have the enjoyment of the experience, but there's no real way for them to be rewarded for their time spent in the game. Now with blockchain technology, the developers are actually able to share the success of their game with their gamers. You know, the value of any game is based off the number of players or the network of players that are playing it. And blockchain technology enables two things: one, to share the success of the game, and two, obviously have the NFTs within the game, which gives people the right to own digital assets within different games, different metaverses, which I think is just it's just very profound. And being a big Bitcoin believer, I couldn't help myself but get involved in the industry, and that's where Gamesta has come from. Gamesta is a guild. We've raised about $13 million to buy assets, and then we have a network of players which we enable, give them access to the assets, and those assets generate a yield, and we obviously yield that money back to the investors. So we're basically connecting investors with players.
Very interesting. And yeah, it's great to see the gaming industry finally flipping it on its head, from players sort of, being the product, to then actually owning the assets and taking something away from the game, and not just spending days or weeks or years even on a game that you don't really get anything out of. And this is an interesting twist with Gamesta, because it's not just a game that has NFTs. You have a guild, and I'm guessing that you're connecting to different kinds of games, and maybe there's a criteria, or how do you choose, what games, what assets to be buying, and what players from which games?
Well, traditionally, and when I say traditionally, I mean GameFi has only been around 6 months, so it's been around, but prominently it's been around for 6 months, and people are buying assets based off human emotion, based off what they think is going to be good. What we're trying to do at Gamesta is build up data sets to apply AI and ML to that data, and try and make a more informed decision on which assets we think are going to be the best for us to acquire. Now, it's very early days because there's not that much data, and normally when you're applying machine learning to data sets, you have these massive sets of data where you can work out millions of different outcomes using machine learning. What we're focused on right now is basically building those data sets. So it's going to take us a little while, but we think that once we've done it, we're going to have a very valuable set of data that's going to be not just good for us, but good for other guilds and other gamers that want access to this information. So we're putting a lot of focus on data whilst we're building.
Definitely good to know. And yeah, you're right. It is early days, and it's great to make a guild to be able to purchase assets, but it's so early on with the amount of GameFi games that actually have NFTs, or at least that are developed enough to have an entire ecosystem where you can move into. So I'm curious a little bit more on where you're at with that. Are you already starting to partner with different GameFi games, or look into, what is the best route to take to have a strong foundation with the guild and with the investors and players?
Our approach right now is we have obviously already an operating guild with 1,000 actees and a few hundred players. and we're using that as a test bed to try and work out which is the best strategy to take. We've raised a significant sum, just under $13 million, and I'm not in a rush to deploy that into assets. I think we are at a precipice of the market right now. There's a lot of, shall I say, not good projects and not good games out there that I think are not going to be there in the next 12 months. A lot of focus has been on pumping token prices, getting 10x's, 20x's, and forgetting about actually delivering a product. So, my background is entrepreneurship. I've built and started and built and sold many businesses over the last 20 years. And what I'm trying to do with Gamesta and my other project, Dope Wars, is not focus too much on trying to pump token prices, but getting our heads down, actually building a product and spending money where it should be spent. Because too many people are worried these days about, what can I get token price right now? What can I sell for it right now? Whereas to build something long-term and sustainable, you need to invest time in it. And that's what we're planning to do with Gamesta. So we've just finished our raise, and we're now getting our heads down, getting stuck in with our test bed of Axes. And we've got a few NFTs and other games, but we're just touching the market to see what do we think is the best to play.
Definitely. And I would love to hear, your thought process on, obviously you're talking about Axie here. They've sort of made a name, and you obviously believe that that's going to stick around. What criteria do you look at for other GameFi games and expanding the portfolio of, how do we know this is something that we should be putting our money towards for the investors?
It's a good question. It's hard to know, and you obviously can't get every decision right. So the idea is you need to get more decisions right than you get wrong, and that's the basis of any fund. If you were getting 100% of the decisions right, you would be we wouldn't be talking here today. Probably we'd be on our own private island somewhere. But what we're trying to do is obviously use the AI and ML stuff to try and just improve our decision-making processes, just to give us that edge over other people. And what I look for in a game, it's difficult to tell because there's so many different games coming out right now, so many different ideas. A lot of them are said to be kind of Ponzi schemes, like for instance, even Axie has said, they've got to keep growing it, to keep adding more players in, to keep otherwise there's too many Axies and there's too much SLP. So there's that issue. I'm very bullish on metaverse games. I think owning assets like land and NFTs within a game, which other people want to use, and you can build up and make it more valuable within a game. For me, that's the ultimate bullish game. So I like things like when Star Atlas launches and these kind of space metaverse games. I'm very bullish on those. It's exciting times.
Definitely, yeah, and I agree with that. Even, you just talked about how GameFi is so early on, but metaverses, like Decentraland and Sandbox and Virtual Land there has been around for years. So there's a little bit more stability, you could say, in that there's a less chance that it could disappear compared to a new GameFi game, because it has been around and will probably continue to be around.
Well, we always say, a week in crypto is like 10 years, isn't it? But so, I mean, anything that's in existence, once it passes the 20-year mark, that's when people expect it to be around forever. That's kind of like the generational expectation of anything. Bitcoin is approaching that soon. Obviously, the internet has gone past that. When the internet was first around in, whenever it was 1990 or whatever, people were like, "Oh, this is a fad. I don't know if it'll work." Why would I ever need a website? Was some of the questions people would ask me when I was running my internet business in school. And obviously, it's been proven to stay around. And now you can't imagine a world without the internet. So, my opinion is, in 5 to 10 years, you probably won't be able to imagine a game without crypto. So there is a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of things to be ironed out. There's a lot of chinks to be ironed out. And I think what they're doing with games like Axie and Star Atlas is, because of the way crypto works, you can raise a lot of the money and funds and leverage up front, and then you figure it out later on. So you've got to be careful and make sure you're picking the right projects. And definitely. I think that leads to why people should invest in guilds and not invest directly themselves, because guilds, see, one, get access to the NFTs at a better price. Two, we've got operational experience, so we kind of know what we're doing and the best way to operate and yield those assets. And hopefully we're able to get more kind of information and experience on what assets we think are right and what assets we think are wrong, instead of just buying what is out there kind of emotionally because that looks cool.
Definitely. And thank you for that. On the investor side, that sort of brings more clarity. And I was going to ask you about on the player side, there's so many people that are getting into crypto, but they're also been long-term gamers, and they see these play to earn games, and they see the guilds and they think, why should I join the guild as opposed to just trying to play to earn on my own? What are the main advantages for the players to join?
For the players to join, well, a lot of our players are underprivileged players from Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines that don't have the capital to be able to buy a lot of these assets. So, even an Axie now, you need really $1,000 to be able to use something decent in the game. So that's out of reach for a lot of players. And what's beautiful about these games and about gaming is that the value of any gamer inside the game is equal. So it doesn't matter if that person is worth $1 million or worth minus $50 or whatever. It doesn't matter. That person's time inside the game is equal, and that's why it's a great opportunity to leverage players from I hate saying third world countries because I think it's really derogatory, but from countries that are not so established and well off to the West, as we could call it, maybe. So it's a good opportunity to level the playing field within metaverses. So, I'm very bullish on metaverses. I think the whole world is going to be in a metaverse. We might already be in a metaverse right now. We just don't know. So it's all happening now. Yeah, you're right about the underprivileged players in countries. When Axie first came out, I was hearing about how people that just, didn't have a good life in developing countries have changed their life from these games. So I'm guessing that the guild is going to help even more than that. So that's great to hear. And I also, Spencer, wanted to ask you about the token economy inside of the guild. Do you also have a Gamesta token that is used within there? And if so, how is that used to bring value to everyone in the ecosystem? Yeah, our Gamesta token is called GSG, and its main utility is the transfer of value between the different parties in our ecosystem. So we have three main parties. That's the investors, the players, and then the management, which is basically us. So the network goes, the investor buys GSG token. That gives us asset value. We then use that asset value to buy NFT assets. We loan those assets out to the players. The players earn, let's say, SLP. That SLP is converted back to GSG. That GSG is then transferred to investors, to management, and to the player. So it enables that transfer of value between everyone inside the ecosystem. There are, of course, some other cool features that we're adding. Like, for instance, we're actually launching a fair launch auction platform called Zinc in about 3 weeks' time. That's going to be very similar to Copper Launch, but Copper Launch on steroids, lots of extra cool features and backed by us. So you'll be able to use GSG in some cool ways on that platform. Obviously, we have the staking that's going to be launched as well. And there's lots of extra things coming, but the main function is that transfer of value. Very cool.
It's exciting. And you mentioned that there's quite a few things coming up. I'm actually really excited for that launch there. Is that part of the main focus in 2022? Or maybe you can just talk about, what are the big things that you want to come out for the platform in 2022?
Well, we took a lot of stick for using Copper Launch to raise money for our platform. And the last few days, it's been quite hectic for us. We did a very successful raise, close to $13 million. Very happy about it. But many people that were on the IDO or in the private rounds were not so happy because they didn't see massive price pumps day one. And what I've been trying to kind of explain to people is that, getting 10x, 20x day one is not sustainable or good for any project. Our project is not about rewarding private and IDO investors day one with a big pump. We want to spend a year, 2 years building this platform and delivering value that way. And if you're trying to do anything else, it's not it's just not good for the project. So I'm very excited to be able to launch Zinc as part of our one of the products in our ecosystem. I've got a lot of connected projects joining in. I've got one already we're raising for called Rendezvous, which is a metaverse for exhibitions and trade shows. That's going to be very cool. And then I have one called VRcade, which we're going to announce in 2 weeks' time. And that is a metaverse for arcade machines. So you'll go into the arcade, you'll see hundreds of arcade machines, and they have the licenses for all the games like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, those kind of big Capcom games and Atari games. And that's going to be a very big project because people love playing these games on arcade, and now you can do it in the metaverse and challenge other players and form part. So it's going to be very exciting. There's lots going on, and I think that the last few months of like really bullish action has caused to create, one, to get people spoiled and expecting massive games really quickly, which I just don't think is good, and two, it's enabled loads of shit, sorry, not allowed to say that, but loads of bad projects to be able to raise money, which I just don't like. I've got a background of 20 years of doing business. I've always been, or most of the time, being successful, more times than not, and I'm hoping to apply that to what I'm doing at Gamesta.
Yeah, I think you're on the right path, Spencer, and you're right about the sustainability. It's about the long-term vision, and as we both know, we're so early in GameFi and in metaverses in general, and I think that there's a long way to go still. So we'll keep working. For the viewers that are looking to learn about all these updates that you just talked about Gamesta and about what's coming up, what's the best way for them to get involved in the community?
Our main form is on Telegram right now. So we have quite an active Telegram group with, I think, 15,000 people in there. We also have a Discord, but that's mainly for players. So if you're a player, you can go along and get involved in our guild. Obviously, part of what we're doing with the platform is building a very automated onboarding process and NFT loaning platform. We'll also be launching an academy so people can learn and get information about gaming and GameFi. So there's a lot of action going on. There's a lot of hard work to be done. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my head down in 2022. And I can't believe it's 2022 already. It's crazy.
Keep going. Thank you so much for taking the time, Spencer, to come on. I will leave the Telegram, Discord, and the website link and anything else that your team needs in the description box below for the viewers. All the best with Gamesta moving forward, and let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Perfect. Sounds great, Ashton. Thank you very much for your time.